Welcome to the Leaders in Payments podcast, where we talk to C-level leaders from across the payments landscape. We'll be discussing the products and services that impact the payment space today, as well as trends and predictions for the future of payments. We will also hear stories from our guests about their journeys to the top.
We have two of the top 3 global banks, 3 of top 10 US banks, and 1/3 of all the banks in Brazil. So in 35 years, a little bit less, we built from nothing out of the university all this market share in Brazil. We work with, like I said, global banks. We have the software sold in the United States for banks operating in Brazil, but they have all the IT in the United States. So we're very proud of what we've done recently, though. Today we have 1,100 employees and more than close to 300 banks.
That was Carlos Netto, the co-founder and CEO of Matera, and he is my special guest on this episode of the Leaders in Payments podcast, and I'm your host, Greg Myers. Carlos and I first discuss his background and all about Matera. We spend most of the time talking about Pix, what it is, what makes it unique, and some of the differences between Pix in Brazil and instant payments in the U.S. We conclude with a conversation around Carlos's personal and professional passions. We've got a great episode ahead, so let's get started. Hi, Carlos. Thank you for being here and welcome to the Leaders in Payments podcast.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
All right. Well, let's dive right in. If you don't mind, tell our audience a little bit about yourself, maybe where you grew up, where you went to school, where you currently live, a few things like that.
Okay. I was born here in Brazil. I went to school here in Brazil too, computer science. And I live here in Campinas, a city 1 hour from São Paulo. And it's called like the Silicon Valley in Brazil. So I'm a classical nerd. I started 11 years old. Assembling electronic parts. And so I love doing what I do today, working with computers and so forth. So that's why I love living here in Campinas, because it's a city full of technology and so forth.
Okay, great. Well, let's talk about Matera, the company that you are a co-founder and the CEO of. So tell the audience what Matera does.
Well, we started Matera out of the university, similar to some companies you have in Silicon Valley, United States. A bunch of programmers. We didn't want to make anything particular. But based on the marketing conditions here in Brazil, so forth, we started creating software for banks. And we didn't know anything about banks at the time. But by working with more modern technologies, it opened many doors in the banking market in Brazil. And today, Matera is more than 30 years old. And we have a lot of banks who have a core banking, similar to FIS or Fiserv or Jack Henry, but for Brazil. Brazil is very unique in terms of regulatory stuff and so forth. So I don't have any global core banking provider working in Brazil. And Matera is the leader today, We have 2 of the top 3 global banks, 3 of top 10 US banks, and 1/3 of all the banks in Brazil. So in 35 years, a little bit less, we built from nothing out of the university all this market share in Brazil. We work with, like I said, global banks. We have the software sold in the United States for banks operating in Brazil, but they have all the IT in the United States. So we're very proud of what we've done recently, though. Today we have 1,100 employees and more than close to 300 banks. It's important that by being a more techie guys, Matera, not only myself, but every employee here and so forth. Every movement in Brazil going to digital banking, stuff like that, we could move a step ahead. We grew a lot. And more recently, Pix, it was a very high-frequency transaction system and so forth. So our roots, our DNA for high-tech stuff helped a lot. And for you to have an idea, today we processed last month close to 400 million transactions in 1 month. Just to have a comparison, that's 20 times more than RTP is doing in the entire United States. It's more than Zelle is doing in the entire United States, just Matera. So we are processing a lot of instant payments. And it means not only moving money from one place to another place, but to register. We know we have the DDA that can keep up with this high volume of transaction. That's very tricky, And the availability 24/7. because people use it all the time. There is no excuse like people tomorrow, the system is going to be down for 8 hours because they're going to upgrade their software. It's simply not acceptable. It has to work 24/7, even when they are upgrading software. So by working with that's Matera, now we offer solutions for core banking, including payments, PIX, and so forth. And globally speaking, we're not going to sell our core banking solution in the United States, for example, or in Canada, because this is a core banking just good for Brazil. But for other countries, we see all these experience and software for instant payments as a good solution to be adopted in other countries, especially countries that are moving to instant payments.
Okay. What would you say differentiates Matera from your competitors out there?
Well, one thing that can differentiate by a fact is the volume we are processing. We just have other banks doing similar volumes to us when banks, they develop an internal solution, huge banks, and they don't sell the software. So to compare with competitors, that is, when we talk about companies that are selling solutions similar to us, we don't have any competitor doing the volume of transactions we are doing today. Or for example, our DDA system, and they call the DDA is like the airport for the airplane, if you consider the payments in the airplane, because the instant payment is account to account. So the money flows from one account to another account. So the DDA system has to be very fast. Sometimes we have some situations here where we know that the transaction frequency is slowing down, not because of the big solution is bad, but because of the DDA is not keeping up, is not processing fast enough the transactions. So a big differentiation is that we have like a solution that was tested, already tested with 145 million accounts, processing 13,000 transactions per second. And that's in test. And then in production, we have clients doing like 10,000 transactions per minute in production. So when you go to volume, we are the way to go here, because you have production environments where people are using, banks are using the solution. So whoever is want to buy, to license a software to process PIX in Brazil, when they see what we have here in production, they get impressed, and that's where you go now.
Okay. And so this next section of the interview, I want to really dive deep into PIX, and you've mentioned it a couple of times. I think, here at least in the US, instant payments or faster payments or account to account payments, whatever term you want to use, is a very hot topic. And I think there's potentially some lessons learned about what has been done in Brazil. So I want to make sure we dive deep into that. So for our audience, if you don't mind, let's just start at the highest level. And, for those that are listening who aren't familiar with what PIX is, can you just explain sort of or define PIX and tell our audience what it really is?
Well, let's talk about PIX. PIX is a network that enables users to move money from one account to another account. So the payer can send money to the payee in 6 seconds, 24/7. But it's not just the rail. I believe the big difference, if you want to compare like PIX to FedNow or RTP, PIX was designed having the user experience in mind. I was a member of the group that designed PIX. PIX was designed by the Central Bank in Brazil, but working along with the community. So banks, tech providers, many other industries there, retailers were there. So we were discussing just use case in the beginning. After having the use case defined, then you start talking about, are we going to use ISO messages or are we going to use blockchain, for example? No. I see that's a huge difference. So when PIX was launched in Brazil, I used PIX the same day. I could not use FedNow yet, because when PIX was launched, every bank app had a button named PIX with a standard logo. And there is what they call here the minimum user experience. So a user can go to bank A or bank B or bank C and hit the button and transfer the money. All the directory services were defined. So it was very good to send money to a friend, like by just send money to the cell phone of the friend. And they enabled us to associate our phones with accounts like 15 days, I can't remember, 15 days or a month before PIX launch. So when Pix was launched, every friend had a Pix key, that is your email or cell phone, associated with your bank account. So it was pretty easy. So when Pix was launched, it did not only grow fast, but we started using it the same day, because of this way we design Pix, that is think about use case and providing a user experience to the user. So banks were mandated to offer Pix to the users, but we are not mandated to use it. Pix is a success because we took a decision to use it. We users. So if you see, I believe that almost every Brazilian has a Pix key. Every Brazilian with a bank account has a Pix key and can receive money. We don't use anything where cash is dying in Brazil, because we can pay everybody using Pix. If you're like a traffic light, somebody's bagging money, there's a Pix key there. QR codes also, like if you go to a store, you can scan the QR code, you can pay. And now you're going to have like a QR code. So we have a QR codes on retail stores, e-commerce, utility bills, tax payments. So everything is being migrated to Pix, and Pix is going to be what I call the internet of the money, or the internet of the accounts. So every money transfer between a payer and a payee is migrating to Pix because it's very simple to use. It's very inexpensive, like the internet. So when Pix was launched, initially just P2P, friends send money to friends, because it took some time for merchants to adopt their systems to have the QR code there, or for tax collectors, IRS, and so forth to curate the QR code there, And they didn't know Pix was going to grow so fast, but when they realized that Pix was growing so fast, they started pushing this with more priority. And so today, even the QR code is being used a lot. And so if I want to compare Pix to like FedNow or RTP, I would say much more comprehensive, because you have not only the rail, you have the use case, you have the standard QR code. And by having a standard protocol, a standard way of using a standard QR code, and very inexpensive. One transaction, the central bank charged the bank 1 Brazilian real cent for every 10 transactions. It would be like in the US, $1 cent for every 50 transactions. So it's very, very cheap, for the bank. And another thing that I know, that not comparing to the US, but comparing, for example, to India, UPI, that's another success. I had a conversation with a professional from this area in India recently, a month ago. And in UPI, nobody's making any money. So there is no effort to make it happen, as in Brazil. For example, if a bank goes to a utility company and add the bank's QR code there, the bank's going to make money. The bank can make like a 15 cents per utility bill paid by using Pix, So they chase, they go there, they go to the utility company and they find like one utility, a big one in São Paulo, like the bank gave 1 year free just to help the company to adapt the systems to embed the QR code and the utility bill, And that because it takes time, takes money, you have to change your system, like SAP, whatever they're using, to collect payments. And the bank, like, okay, I help you financially speaking. I give you like a year free or 6 months free. So what you would pay to me, you pay internally to make this solution working. And I start making money later. But because there is a business case, because there is a way to make money, companies are pushing Pix to be used. So I believe that in the US, it would be very great for having like companies and payment processors, or even banks that are like using FedNow or RTP to pay, using funds from your credit limit, not from your bank account, to make money. Because if banks are making money, if merchants are saving money, it helps a lot things to work. It's not only mandating. Mandating is okay, helped a lot in Brazil. All banks are offering Pix, but saving money for tax collectors and making money for banks is fundamental also to help this work.
Okay, yeah, that's a formula for getting things done for sure. So Matera recently launched a report called Pix by the Numbers. And I think that's a regular report that you guys do. So maybe discuss some of the highlights of that report, if you don't mind.
Yeah, we've been publishing this every quarter, showing numbers, the usage, and so forth. And recently we were talking about what you call PIX automatic. That is a request for payment that you have already fed now. That's something that PIX is behind. But the way you're going to make it happen is very interesting because you don't need to approve every new payment. Like if you're going to pay your utility bill or your Netflix, you just read the QR code once and you hit the button pay. It's going to say, you want to subscribe, like when you're purchasing something on Amazon, you want to buy the stuff Amazon offers. Do you want to have this every month? So when I read the QR code, I hit the button pay, I can say, okay, for the next 12 or 24 months, you can charge my account. Don't need to ask me permission. I'm going to give you, bank, the permission to pay this every month. If the amount is not up to like $1,000, for example, or up to $100, whatever makes sense for that stuff. So we're going to be able to add your credit card, your wine club, your school, your Netflix, your Google, your ChatGPT monthly payment, whatever you want to PIX, and they're going to be able to collect payments from your account directly, And what I like very much is that enables some other use case, not only recurring payments like monthly payments, but recurring payments that are not every month. Every time you push a button. For example, you can have your account inside like Amazon.com.br here in Brazil, and whenever you buy something, Amazon can collect the payments directly from your bank account. So saving Amazon a lot of money on this and saving friction, because today Amazon is offering like 10% discount if you pay using QR code, sometimes, not every day, promotions and so forth. But you have to read the QR code. If you're on your phone, you cannot read the QR code, use your own phone for your own screen. So there is what we call copy and paste. So you copy the QR code from Amazon app and you paste in your bank. That's a terrible user experience. So this friction sometimes can lead to losing sale or whatever. So with this PIX automatic that is going to be signed Amazon, for example, in this situation, I'm just saying here, I'm not saying that Amazon has this today, it's just an example. You can just choose the item you want and press a button, buy, like you do when you have cards on file, same user experience. But much cheaper for the e-commerce, And PIX, there is no chargebacks for PIX. So nobody's going to steal your card number to use your card number like they do with cards, because PIX is not pull, it's push. So it's not like cards that whoever has your card number, they can use your money. For PIX, you have to go to your bank app, put your credentials there, and say pay. So you're pushing the payment from inside your app. So it's much safer, and there is no chargeback, there is no fraud. There are some other kind of fraud, but not the classical fraud that are using your card number. So for the e-commerce, they save a lot of money. And so the PIX automatic is something that's coming, and that's very relevant. It's coming from the central bank regulator, as a regulator. But they developed this along with the community as well. And also there are some other use cases here that are totally not thought about central bank, not defined by the regulator. For example, there is a loyalty program system here in Brazil that you can pay anything that are accepting PIX using your loyalty points. So you go to a store like Starbucks, you buy coffee, and when you're going to pay for that coffee, you read the QR code and you pay. But the money is not going from your bank account. The money is being sent to Starbucks from the loyalty program company account. And they're deducting your points balance. So this tool is very unique because when PIX was created, it was like account to account. In our mind, just think inside the box. Every time we believe it's my account to the merchant account. But there is no rule saying that if you press a button, you're paying for your own account. In this case, and pay a button, and I'm authorizing the payment from the loyalty point company account, actually. And the loyalty points pay on my behalf, and they're deducting my loyalty points. It can be expanded to paying with Bitcoins, paying with Ethereum, any crypto, like they deduct your crypto balance and they pay in Brazilian reais, or can pay with foreign currencies, like US dollar, for example. So it's interesting how the private sector, not only the regulator, can innovate and create innovative solutions on top of Pix. So you're having now Pix buy now, pay later. The industry is creating a lot of new functionalities on top of Pix, which is good. That's a little bit covered by Pix by numbers because it comes back to what I said, the internet of the money. Like the internet was created in the past and people create a lot of stuff on top of the internet. I believe things nobody thought about before, even the internet creators. It's happening today with Pix. It's a network and it's open and people are creating stuff on top of that. But the big movement that is going to happen in Brazil is Pix automatic because Pix is growing like crazy and it's very bad for recurring collections payments. By having this, is create a new market for Pix. So we expect a big growth again by occupying this market.
So it sounds like Pix has been successful so far, and then you just mentioned a whole bunch of new use cases that it's going to make it even more successful. So, what has surprised you most about the success of it in Brazil?
To be honest, almost everything. We designed Pix, and in the beginning, we were anxious. It's going to work out. People are going to use that, and so forth, because we know that, like in some countries, instant payments were a flop. But we are betting that Brazil has a huge pure population, let's say. So if you see how many Brazilians have a credit card, like 32%, something like that. So we have a huge population without a credit card. You have a huge population without an address, a house, where you can send a debit card to. A huge population without a bank account. But they were able now to have a fintech account that was regulated by the central bank in 2014. So with this huge banked population, I believe that was very relevant. Also, we don't have Venmo here. So sending money to friends was not so easy like it is in the United States today, So combining all these factors that I can send money by just having the phone number of the person, this unbanked population, now they can have a fintech account, they can receive their payments. So if you're begging money on the street, even if you have a work like a housekeeper and so forth, now you can get paid by Pix. So the speed it grew. I mean, if you think, wow, what surprised me? The speed of growth. We never thought that Pix was going to grow so fast like it grew. Today, we have more transactions on Pix than credit cards and debit cards combined. So what it created succeeded much more than everybody was expecting. In the first year of Pix, just 1 year, we had a celebration like 1 year of Pix, big success and so forth. They counted 5 songs talking about Pix. So just for you to know how you occupy your culture, like carnival, people using like glasses, send my Pix here. So they're using Pix as a word of money, So it's incredible. It's incredible how it penetrates our culture, our way to work, and so forth. A bunch of jokes on top of that. So when I get back like 2 years before even having the name Pix defined, just creating this instant payment solution, I feel very proud now about everybody did on this because it's really a huge success now. So the big surprise was this huge success we never thought. We were expecting, like I said, by not having credit cards and bank accounts, we are going not to be a flop. We're going to succeed, but not this kind of success now.
Well, obviously, we don't have Pix here in the U.S., but we do have similar technologies, but maybe implemented differently. As you've mentioned, we have Zelle, we have RTP, and, FedNow. I mean, and you've talked a little bit about sort of the comparisons, but what do you think that the success of Pix in Brazil means to the U.S. market?
Well, I believe that, like in Brazil, we used PIX to fill a gap. In the United States, I would fill the gap I can see today. And one gap I see in the United States is the lack of a standard QR code. Before PIX, it was very common to go to a store and see there are 5 QR codes, like that DoorDash QR code, DoorDash is the Brazilian version, and some others. So nobody was using it because 5 QR codes, 5 places to reconciliate payments. Everybody carry a different app, and based on your app, you have to use the right QR code. And your app is not every store with 5 QR codes. So I have to have 5 apps with balance. It was a mess, So now I just have one app, the one I prefer. I can choose 1, 2, or 3, whatever, because they are all based on the same standard QR code. And when I go to the store, I see the QR code, I pay. In the United States, I don't see this standard QR code yet. I see many rails, So I believe that for the US to have succeed, that would be much more on P2B, not P2P like in Brazil. And having a standard QR code that would be good for any rail. So I go to a store, I see the QR code, and I pay. Or I show my QR code that's consumer present mode, and I pay. And I don't care which rail is going to be used. I just pay. And my bank and the merchant banks going to talk to each other, see what they have in common. And you have RTP, I have RTP too. Okay, I'm sending the payment using RTP. So the user experience is going to be just displaying your scanner QR code and press a button. But between the software from the bank and the software from the merchant, they're going to see which network they have in common and so forth, and the payment's done. And everything in 6 seconds. So for you, it's going to be totally transparent, even in the time it's going to take for the payment. If you create this and if you enable payment processors to make money on the merchant side, and if you enable banks to make money on the payment side, especially if the payment is funded not by your balance, but from your credit limit in the bank you have, then you're going to create a more efficient way for consumers to pay in stores, removing many actors, simplify the system, but keeping the bank make money and keeping the merchant saving money, but the payment processor getting some payments there. It would be a good equation because you're going to bring efficiency to P2B payments, but you're going to keep some way for the remainder players to make money. After that, of course, having Zelle is good. I use Zelle, but you don't have Zelle for every bank in the United States. So perhaps by doing P2P, if you have an account on a community bank or a regional bank, you're going to be able to receive Zelle payments. I cannot send money to my nephew. He lives in Colorado. He's a regional bank there. That bank does not have Zelle yet, so I have to use ACH or SWIFT. So perhaps FedNow and RTP, a directory service would be good for this. I mentioned about the QR code for every rail, it'd be nice to have a US directory service. So I transfer money to your cell phone. It's a matter of knowing which network you have. So if you have Zelle and I have FedNow, okay, not a problem. I want to send money to your cell phone. So addressing this way, I believe it would be even better than PIX because you'd create in the United States a competition between rails. So it would be rails, they would be stimulated to be cheaper and better because the consumer and the merchant is going to select the rail every transaction. Which one's better, which one's faster, and you're going to have just a standard for the protocols, a standard for the QR code, a standard for the directory. The directory can be created using a blockchain, so nobody's going to own that. I know that there is a culture who's going to control that? I don't want this Fed to control my directory. So having a blockchain-based directory service would be owned by nobody. So it's going to be public. Every bank could have access there to be able to send money to the right place when I send the money to some specific cell phone. So my point of view, is one way to go for the US to be proved. Like I said, for PIX, we didn't know that it was going to succeed. So we don't have a crystal ball here to be sure about that. But that's my guess. And it's very good for banks in the US to be prepared for that. One thing I forgot to mention is that when Pix start growing so crazy, we could realize that the core bank system, they start to be stressed a lot in a way that I know that Zelle is already doing this in the United States. I know from a bank, I cannot disclose the name for sure, that is experiencing already like 10 times more transactions on the bank account after Zelle being adopted by the user. Because the user used to go like to the ATM machine, withdraw some cash, and use that cash in many payments. And now they're doing all the payments using Zelle instead of going to the ATM. This increase in volume of transactions and the core banking can be tough for the bank. Depending on the technology used, if you're using mainframes, depending on the cost of the transaction, it can be bad. So my idea to make it happen, I'd say it would be like the QR code and open directory. But for the banks, I would say be prepared for that. Gen Z is coming. They don't tolerate like the system's down for 8 hours for upgrades. I want to pay like Instagram is always on, and everything is always on. Netflix is always on. So I want my bank to be always on too, and fast, instantaneously. And if it happens, if they're gonna work out, and if you have something similar to Brazil, 10 times less than Brazil, is going to stress some core banking solutions. So it's important for the bank to be prepared for that.
Okay, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Sounds like we have a little bit of work to do here in the U.S., but it definitely sounds like it's doable. So let's hope that we've got some people moving in that direction.
Yeah, I believe what you said right now is doable. I believe that the most relevant inspiration you have to bring to the role, it's possible, it's doable work. I mean, consider your own reality, don't copy and paste what we did in Brazil, because here is different, but it's possible. We can change the way we pay, we can have more efficient ways to pay. And I believe that what Brazil is inspiring other countries with Pix is, hey, do your job, and consider your own reality and make something. You can do this. If you're done here in Brazil, you can do this in the US.
Well, let's switch up a little bit and end the show talking about you. So tell us about your journey to your role there. Maybe give us the founder's story and talk about that a little bit.
Well, I always liked computers and so forth. So as a CEO, I was much more, not a HR guy. Some leaders, they're much more like good at managing people and so forth. I was much more inspiring guy, like everybody that came to Matera, he's doing this, he's doing that different. So, and combining after working a lot, serving business, serving my clients, but never cutting my connection with technology. So I started learning how to match technology and business demands. So, hey, this business demand can be fixed with this technology. And when you know the technology and you're still there and you know business problems very well, especially by listening to experts, listening is fundamental. I love it. Like I'm not a business guy initially. Today I know a lot about business, but I learned it from other guys. So when I meet somebody that has a knowledge on that specific area of business, I just listen to because it's very relevant. And I start matching technology with the business problems, the business pains. And sometimes it comes to some new technology, some new inventions. For example, I could have a grant patent in the United States by just combining very trivial technologies that a security guy, when reads the patent, said, really? You got a patent for this? But because if you're just a security guy, or you know that's trivial, but you don't know the business thing, you don't make the matching. But I could make the matching between those security technology and so forth, encrypting technology with some business needs. And I could create a process that I got a patent for that, that enables you to pay with your cell phone without internet, not requiring any certified terminals on the merchant side. So a guy from encryption would say, what's relevant not using a certified terminal on the merchant side? But I know that the certified terminal on the merchant side is very expensive, and require internet. is also bad for some use case. That was my role, to have a vision for the future, creating new products. We started working with QR code in 2017, because it's like, let's do something different. And by doing different things and respecting my fellows, my partner, my employees, because they're different, they have other skills, not my skills, but my skills are not enough. We have to combine what you're good on with the other professionals that are good on some different things, working together, and this way you can move forward. Being persistent. I like when I heard recently, I forgot the name, the GPT guy, saying that persistence is very important if you want to be a CEO of a company, and that's true, because Pix was a success and so forth, but I can name you 10 things that are worth a lot of money, at least, that I forecast is going to happen. Didn't happen. It's going to happen. That's the future. No, I failed. So it happens, but you have to be prepared for that, because eventually you're going to hit, and learn from your mistakes. Every time, learn from your mistakes. Don't never say the road is wrong, I'm right. No. If you failed, it's because you were wrong, and learn from your mistakes and improve it every day, and eventually you're going to make it right.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. So tell us some things you're passionate about. So maybe one work-related passion and one personal passion.
Well, that's different in my case because personal and professional are very mixed because I'm very lucky to work with I love. So I was 11 years old and I started making FM transmitters to sell to my friends, making money with this. And I attended a presentation was 6 months ago. And he mentioned on his interview that he was going to like stands to buy magazines with some board there to assemble things. It was me, I bought this FM transmitter. It came like stamped on a magazine, a piece of a small board that you just assemble pieces there. And it was funny because that FM transmitter was able to cut the connection. If you the neighbor was watching a soap opera, last chapter on TV, it was open. It was able to make the screen black. So the mother of my friend was watching the soap opera, and boom, no more. And we were like, it was funny, went to the cops. The cops addressed, hey, you are doing this? No, it's impossible. No, it's impossible. So technology was my dream, and since the beginning, 11 years old. So audio systems and so forth, because it was in the 70s, no computers yet. And in 1983, when I entered university, computers were coming to Brazil, and then it was like a passion. So I invested a lot of my time working with computers, developing video games like Space Invaders, stuff like that when I was a kid. And when I learned about business problems with payments and so forth, I started matching all these things. So I love what I do today, even with payments and so forth. And for personal, when I'm home, using I love chatting with ChatGPT and now Gemini. It's incredible how you can exchange ideas with this tool. I asked Gemini about, I want to pay with cell phone, offline, with a non-certified terminal. Guess what? Gemini invented what I get a patent. So it's incredible how you can exchange ideas with these AI tools today, So I really love technology. I know that my daughter gets angry with me all the time. Hey, you cannot stimulate this ChatGPT. It's going to dominate the human race, But I know that's my nature, I like technology. And sometimes I watch movies, Netflix, sci-fi movies, stuff like that. And the only thing I like that is sports related is skiing, And they don't have snow in Brazil, that stuff. But whenever I'm traveling, there is snow, I go skiing. I love that.
Okay, great. Well, I'm glad you shared that. So obviously we've covered a lot of ground already talking about the company and what Matera does. And then obviously, I really appreciate the time that you spent on Pix because I really want our audience to get educated on that. I think you brought a lot of value to us on that topic. Is there anything else you'd like to go over before we wrap up the show?
Don't think whatever you do with passion. I know that it's easy to say. A lot of people say this, but if you don't have passion for what you're doing, you're not going to survive all the problems you're going to face. It's going to happen. Life is not easy, But if you have passion, like first 10 years of Matera, my total income was 50% of the income if I was an employee of a company. 10 years, getting 50%. I was happy, So that's what important, And because I was doing what I like, And there's no money that can pay this. I don't want to be a sad professional, a rich sad professional. Makes no sense. So if you love what you're doing, you're gonna survive. Learn, listen to. If somebody says you're wrong, pay attention. Probably you're wrong. So that's it. If you want to make things happen, and if you don't want to make things happen, don't worry. It's up to you. We don't need to have everybody like opening companies, founding companies, and so forth. Somebody can just play a band, play a guitar, whatever you like, do what you like. That's my wrap up,
Yeah, I think that's some great advice and a great way to end the show. And we often talk about people's passions, and being successful means different things to different people. But if you have that passion and that hard work, you're going to be successful. So, Carlos, I know you have those things. I can tell you're very passionate about the technology and about everything that you do. So I really appreciate you being here. So thanks again for being on the show. I know your time is very valuable, so I want to respect that. Yeah. But again, thank you so much, Carlos.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank the audience. Bye-bye.
Okay. And to all you listeners out there, I thank you for your time as well. And until the next story.
Thank you for joining us this week on the Leaders in Payments podcast. Make sure you visit our website at leadersinpayments.com, where you can subscribe to the show and where you'll find our show notes. If you enjoyed listening, please share on your social channels as well.